Welcome back to another segment of The MCR. Mac and me, my name's TJ. And in this segment, I want to touch on an event that just happened this past weekend. Vice President Kamala Harris spoke at West Point. And of course, the claim to fame there is she's the first woman to speak at a West Point graduation ceremony. There is theory, suspicion, whatever, however you want to phrase it, that she spoke because they didn't believe President Biden could do it. They physically fit. They didn't believe President Biden was fit enough to speak at this graduation ceremony. So Vice President Kamala Harris was sent instead. And that's not necessarily the topic of this segment. It's just a little side note to the event.
I'm inclined to believe that.
Yeah, you know what? It's not being disputed, that's for sure.
Well, tradition is that the president gives each graduate a salute. I doubt she did that. I doubt Joe could without dropping dead. President Trump talked about how hard it was to give 600 salutes.
It was an 18-minute speech, so that wasn't very long. Some of what she said wasn't that bad. But what I find interesting is because I read about it in the New York Times, and then I also read about it in the Gateway Pundit. And the Gateway Pundit reported on at least one of her phrases that the New York Times conveniently ignored. Okay. Now, some of the quotes the New York Times reported was, she said to the graduates, to the class of 2023, and to all the cadets here today, you stand on the broad shoulders of generations of Americans who have won the uniform, including many barrier breakers and trailblazers. Okay, that's a generic enough statement. And
it is, and it can mean a lot of different things. I think I know what she meant.
Well, but, yeah. Then she would follow it with, in fact, this year you celebrate the 75th anniversary of the integration of women in the military, as well as the desegregation of our military. So she kind of explained the barrier breakers,
Okay, I'm not opposed to that. Black Americans have served this country in great ways, militarily.
Yep. She would say further down, these milestones are a reminder of a fundamental truth. Our military is strongest when it fully reflects the people of America.
I disagree.
Well, whatever. Okay. And then she says further down, you graduate into an increasingly unsettled world where long-standing principles are at risk. Oh, okay.
Yeah, because of you. And your kind.
Let's see.
We neither of us are West Point graduates. I wasn't in the Army, but that place is steeped in tradition.
Yeah, I've had a couple officers that were West Point graduates. One in particular was my platoon leader for a while, and so he and I had interesting talks about it. He said he'd never do it again because to him it was 4 years of basic training. And, he did not seem to reflect kindly on it.
Well, here's the thing. Here's where I would say something. I would ask him to consider this. That was training in instructing other people to do what you've done.
She would continue. And that was the New York Times. That's what the New York Times reported her to say. The Gateway Pundit reports, and this is where it gets a little interesting. The threats of terrorism persists, and the accelerating climate crisis continues to disrupt lives and livelihood. So she's bringing in, climate change. Okay. She also made reference to an accelerating climate crisis as being one of the biggest challenges the military will face during their careers.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with her in this sense. Joe Biden wants to make the military all electric vehicles because of this alleged climate crisis. There is no crisis. Climate change happens. That's a fact. But what constitutes the crisis? With these
Well, I had a
people,
couple.
everything is a crisis.
I had a couple rhetorical questions I wanted to follow this up with. Is it a bigger crisis than the proxy war in Ukraine?
Yes.
You know, is it a bigger crisis than China moving on Taiwan? You know, I mean,
is it a bigger crisis than our border being overrun with 10,000 people a day who we don't know who they are?
Yeah. And this is where I want to swerve into. When I was in the Army, we heard over and over and over again, esprit de corps, esprit de corps, esprit de corps. And you know, so that I would be technically correct, I did look it up. A French term meaning group spirit, which is how we interpret it back then. It's always been my position that anything, any topic, any issue that detracts from esprit de corps is it's a negative. And what I mean by that is, you know, and of course, another thing they beat into our heads when I was in the military: accomplish the mission, accomplish the mission, accomplish the mission, mission accomplishment at all cost.
Jake, it's all about the mission.
And you know, you take women in the military, anything that detracts from esprit de corps or accomplish the mission, it's just, for instance, and here's an example. When I was in, I could see back in the 1980s a softening beginning. And I've always told people, like if I was talking to people about when I was in, when I ETS'd out of the Army, I felt like the Army was turning into a health club. Okay? And I guess what I'm saying is I felt like it was beginning. I could see it losing its masculinity. I guess is what I'm trying to say here. Their ability to, in a badass sort of way, destroy stuff. You know.
Well, I think you do that best when you're at your peak physical condition.
Well, yes.
Tell me if you can tell me better. I'm just going by my memory, but I saw a fat soldier or two, and I shake my head when I see a fat police officer. I'm thinking, you can't do the job.
You are
should
correct
be able
on
to.
that. You are correct. But for instance, when we would march around, and I'm thinking when I went in compared to when I got out, when I went in, our cadences were, I'll put it politely, very edgy. Okay. Well, when I ETS'd, they were nowhere near as edgy.
Were they something like "I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay"? Did they go like that?
No, it's you know, like born in the backwoods, raised by a bear, double set of jaw teeth, 3 coats of hair, cast iron balls, blue steel rod. We're sick, MRFers. We're fist by God, you know. Well, you know what? They made us stop saying that.
Well, that last part's a little blasphemous or sacrilege, at least.
But you know, stuff like that. You know, it just
the good stuff.
You know, you call it, you use the term wussification once.
Yes.
You know, and yeah, you know, just I don't know, man. I just it just saddens me. It just saddens me what it's turned into. And I'd sure like to for it to turn around and prove me wrong, but you know, it goes back to that
a massive defeat of this country is what's going to have to turn that around.
You know, I want to say maybe a year ago we did a segment where we compared 2 recruitment videos, where the U.S. Army one was you know, about some girl having 2 mommies. Okay.
Yeah, girl power.
Yeah, and then we showed the Russian Army recruitment video, and Boy, I'll tell you what, it made them look like bona fide bad derrieres, we'll say.
Correct.
You know? And I said, if you wanted to join a badass unit, which video would you choose?
If you want to stay alive, you want to be in a badass unit.
And you want to know something? And that goes to the heart of esprit de corps, so the liberals are just ruining the military, and I guess that's it. I will, in closing, I will say this. Right now, I do believe that the average U.S. soldier is probably, on average, better than say your average Russian soldier or Russian Chinese soldier. For a few
I don't know about the Chinese soldier, but I'll give you the Russian soldier.
Well, here's the thing with the way these communist troops train, they aren't, like in the U.S. military, the mission accomplishment, the mission task, it's explained down the chain of command. Whereas if the platoon sergeant is taken out, the squad sergeant can take over. Or if the squad sergeant gets taken out, the team leader can take over. And if I guess there's redundancy in the mission as far as accomplishing the mission.
Right.
The U.S. military has built-in redundancies where that does. I don't believe that exists with your average communist troop, will say, of whatever nation they're from.
Yeah.
So goes my suspicion.
Okay.
But in any event, and I know we started this off with Vice President Kamala Harris addressing the West Point graduates and talking about how climate crisis is such an issue that needs to be addressed. Blah 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 blah. I can only hope, whether it be Trump, whether it be DeSantis, whether it be Vivek Ramaswamy, I just hope our next president's a Republican, because if not, I shudder to think what's going to become of our military. And I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Okay. That's it for this one. As always, be safe, watch your six, and don't tread on me.